After an unprecedented 2020 college football season, the four-team playoff field is set. The number 3 seeded Ohio State Buckeyes square off against the number 2 seeded Clemson Tigers on New Year's Day in the Sugar Bowl. Here for more on this is Brendan Gulick of Buckeyes Now. Brendan, there's some controversy amongst college football fans about whether Ohio State was deserving of a spot due to the fact that they only played 6 games because of complications from the global pandemic. Can you state your case to all the detractors out there, including Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney, who had Ohio State ranked at number 11th in his ballot, as to why the Buckeyes are deserving of this spot?
Good to be with you, Caitlin. I'm happy to make the case, although if Dabo's got Ohio State ranked 11th, I'm not sure he's willing to listen to that case. But nevertheless, I think the Buckeyes have been one of the 4 most impressive teams that's played in the country this year. The fact that they've only played 6 games really wasn't something they had a chance to control. They had 2 top 25 wins in those 6 games, and frankly, they've won games in different ways. I think they've showcased different parts of their team. Obviously, you've got incredible leadership from a guy like Justin Fields, who for the first 3 games of the season actually was responsible for more touchdowns than he threw incomplete passes. He's doing it with his legs. He's obviously doing it with his arm, and he's got 2 terrific wide receivers in Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson that all season long have essentially averaged at least 100 yards per game. The high-octane offense has been special. The magnifying glass for Ohio State's been on their defense and whether or not they're good enough to withstand some late runs by whomever they're playing. And admittedly, against Rutgers with some trick plays, the Buckeyes gave up some yards and some points. And Indiana, who I think is a really good football team, gave Ohio State a pretty good run for their money too. But to me, the most impressive defensive performance was the most recent one, when Ohio State clearly was struggling a little bit on offense to get things moving against a really good Northwestern defense. Ohio State's defense came out in the second half and absolutely shut down anything the Wildcats were doing. They literally didn't give up a point, but they allowed 17 carries for 28 yards in the second half of the Big Ten championship game when the Buckeyes needed so badly to make sure they could keep the offense in the game. And then obviously they put things on Trey Sermon's back, and he ran for a school record 331 yards. So I guess from an overarching point of view, they've won games in different kinds of ways. They've showcased the offense and defense can both play at an elite level. And look, they won their conference championship in a Power 5 league. And to me personally, that should mean something. So I do think Ohio State's one of the top 4 teams in the country.
All right. Well, I have to say, facing off against the Clemson Tigers is going to be no easy task. And OSU is considered to be the underdog going into this game. What do the Buckeyes need to do to secure their spot in the national championship game?
Well, I don't think anybody's going to tell you that this is not the easiest game they've played all year. I think it's pretty clear cut that Clemson is cut from a different cloth than what the Buckeyes have seen so far this year. You know, you kind of think back to last year's matchup and maybe what Clemson's done to Ohio State in years past. Obviously, their speed has been an issue with Ohio State, although I thought the Buckeyes did a pretty good job with negating some of that strength. Trevor Lawrence last year ran for more than 100 yards against Ohio State. I think the Buckeye defense is probably going to do a little better job this time around of keeping him contained. The question is, can the secondary step up? Because they have been at times a little bit helter-skelter this year. And obviously against a quarterback as talented as Trevor Lawrence, you can't have blown coverages or blown assignments because he's made everybody pay. He's only lost 1 game in his college career as a starting quarterback. As far as the Buckeyes offensively, I think they can compete with anybody in the country. Obviously, their health is going to be the biggest focal point, as it is for everybody right now. But the offensive line last week was back intact. And look, Ohio State is one of only a handful of teams that's done this in recent memory. They're the only team this year in the Power 5 that's averaged more than 250 per game, both on the ground and through the air. They are well balanced. They've got elite speed. They've got great pass catchers. Their receiver room is as deep as anybody in the country. I think the tight end room for Ohio State has gotten a lot of good notoriety this year. I'm not concerned with Ohio State's ability to score on Clemson. I think if the Buckeyes are going to win this game, that they're going to have to play some pretty tough defense in some tight situations because Trevor Lawrence is an elite quarterback. But if Ohio State can come out and take care of the football, they're very capable of beating Clemson this year.
Well, it's certainly going to be a good matchup that I'm excited to watch New Year's Day during the Sugar Bowl. Thank you so much for joining me, Brendan. Really appreciate your insight on this.
You bet. Merry Christmas.